G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. So in this video we are going to take a look at how to beat the Extreme AGL Extreme Super Battle Road stage or the Super Strength Extreme Super Battle Road stage, whichever way you really want to call it, with a, well, somewhat friendly team. So essentially with this team build we try to use as many free-to-play units as possible. We're also going to basically not use any summonable LRs or any of those kind of units in our team. And yeah, we'll just take a look at how we take on the stage. Obviously we have the friend Vegeta and Nappa here. They're going to be our leader, so to say. They are indeed a Terrifying Conquerors and an Extreme AGL lead, which obviously does help. We've got them accompanied with the 130% at 55% Super 17, so that's a Super 17 card that does not have any dupes in him. Along with that, we also obviously have the free-to-play Vegeta as well, the April Fool's Vegeta, who's a pretty good unit. He's really good. He's quite quite powerful, quite useful in these situations. He does take a little bit to stack, but he actually links pretty decently with the Vegeta and Nappa, so we'll be using them as a link pairing when we can. We also have Wrathful Broly, and we have the free-to-play Battlefield Shop LR in the form of the Dabura and Babidi. So that's pretty much our lineup, accompanied with a Golden Frieza just to kind of round things out. And so it's a pretty decent lineup. I'm not going to say it's the most powerful lineup. It does obviously have some clear weaknesses, but the team in itself is decently strong. It's definitely quite powerful. It's got some AoE clear in the form of the Vegeta and Nappa, and the Dabura and Babidi can actually do a decent amount of damage if all their requirements are met. Plus they provide the ability to stun units, which, you know, for the most part is pretty helpful. When you can stun units and kind of control things, it's always good to have one of these kind of guys on your team. So I definitely do suggest obviously using them and rolling around with them. But now, that being said, of course, the team in itself generally is pretty straightforward. We're going to use Nappa's active skill quite consistently. So the way Nappa's active skill works is essentially Nappa will gain full evasion, but he will reduce his attack. Now, if a unit is attacking Nappa before he fires off his attack, Nappa will evade that unit and then basically essentially regain that attack back. So the best situation or scenario would be to obviously have Nappa being attacked by someone and then that attack proccing the additional attack bonus that removes the decrease from the active skill. Obviously, to a certain extent, that can't realistically be done every time because you can't control where the enemy attacks, but that's generally where you want to use it in the best situation. We also have obviously the Yamu and Spopovich unit to kind of round things out. They are a reliable unit. Their recent EZAs made them a lot better, but you know, they are just there. They do provide some heals, and they are reliable as a floater, but I wouldn't say anything more than that. Golden Frieza himself is an incredible tank. He reduces damage by 90% when HP is 40% or more. So he's a very good tank. Essentially just there to soak up some damage if we need him in a tight situation. The Yamu and Spopovich, like I mentioned, you know, the Extreme Z Awakening did improve them a lot. Obviously they gained that ability to lower attack and defense, which always helps. You know, it does reduce the amount of damage you'll take from enemies in ESBR. They recover 7% HP, which does help keep us topped up, especially, you know, if you just calculate the fact that even if they just fire one attack per fight, that's 21% HP you've managed to gain back just from them. 28% HP you've managed to gain back, so pretty good. And yeah, they're solid. They work decently in tandem with the Bubdi and Deborah, but I wouldn't say they're like the best pairing. It's just that they obviously lower attack and defense, which does help to trigger the Bubdi and Deborah's full kind of passive. So I'm not going to say they're the best running partner for them, but they are at least a reliable option. And then of course Nappa and Vegeta, as I explained, they're active skill, but it is important to just understand they do fire an AoE attack on their 12 key, so we're going to focus on that unless we have 2 enemies or less. They also obviously do have additional ki when we have a certain health threshold, and they'll also gain attack after evading after evading an attack. They do gain more attack and defense depending on how many people we fight, so they're pretty good for ESBR and things like that. We also have the exchange mechanic, which we can use from the 4th turn if we need to, just to enable us to regain some health back. You can exchange into Vegeta, you essentially regain your health. I think you gain 50% HP back, which is always good, and Vegeta becomes more single target based, which obviously is quite useful in terms of just trying to clear up these kind of events. So yeah, obviously a nice little design in there for these guys, so realistically quite happy to roll with that. Beyond that, nothing too crazy on the team to mention. A couple of free-to-play units, the April Fool's Vegeta, the Deborah and Bubdi, the Yamu and Spopovich, which always helps to have free-to-play options, but it is reliant on using the Super Android 17, who for the most part is someone we really need on the team. That 130% leader skill, plus the ability for him to just soak up some decent damage once he gets going is really good. Remember, his attack and defense and his damage reduction and all that increases over time as he makes and takes attacks, so that always does help. And just since his EZA, he's just a lot more reliable. He greatly raises his attack and defense for 1 turn. He reduces damage received by 40%, and he gains that additional attack and defense, that additional damage reduction with each attack received. So that's really, really good. Plus he gives target Goku allies additional critical hit, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not like that additional critical hit's gonna matter to a lot of our team, since I wouldn't say our heaviest hitters are target Goku category units. Maybe if we were doing something like a Android 13 or something like that based team, then it would matter a bit more, but realistically it honestly doesn't matter too much. This Frieza here, he's not going to dish out too much damage. Even with the 6 orbs, he's not like the hardest hitter in the world. But what you're going to want to do is, if you can try and make sure that you can get those stacks built up on the Android 17 before he takes a hit, it's going to help you a lot more than if if he takes a super attack beforehand. So we're going to just top up here, keep everything going. You obviously again want to try and save your Dokkan attack for the 4th fight, or you want to get it at the beginning of the 3rd fight. You realistically never want your Dokkan attack at the end of the 3rd fight, but it always tends to happen to me. You can do that by controlling the amount of orbs you get that are same type or rainbow, because those are the only ones that are going to count. So yeah, pretty much just focus on that. Of course, what I want to say is, with this kind of team, it does require a little bit of building. You're going to need the battlefield currency for the Bubdi and Deborah. You are going to need a little bit of luck with the general pool SSRs. In replacing some of these units, I think Wrathful Broly is very, very good, but he could be replaced. You could easily pick up another unit as long as they have somewhat decent defense, can chuck out a somewhat decent offense. They should still be fairly competent in terms of this game mode. He's good, but I don't think he's necessary to complete the stage. And similarly, I do think at the end of the day, Super 17 with only 55% in him, I do also think you could definitely consider replacing as well. Not that he's bad, obviously the leader skill comes in handy, But I think running this team at a 120% leader skill is not the end of the world, especially if you can get some of them at a higher lead. So if you have a higher alternative lead, or maybe you just have a unit with a lot more dupes that's a lot more effective, like a Rainbow Zamasu, possibly might be a better option. Just considering what he can do, what he's about, and all those sort of things, I just think maybe he's possibly a better option for you to take in. So yeah, that definitely could assist there. But beyond that, obviously Super 17 incredibly reliable defensively, so I don't think there's a need to replace him, but I think he is possibly replaceable, just depending on how many dupes you have of other units. But overall, you know, I'm super impressed with this team. I think they did really well. Yeah, they do really well. You can see their Super 17 tanking really, you know, after a couple attacks, just tanking super attacks really solidly. So I do think, you know, there are good options on this team. I think it's been improved with the free-to-play options that have come out, and I think those have helped the team reach a sense of stability and have somewhat of a free-to-play base to work off of. But yeah, this is just one build. There are plenty you can run, especially with the new LR Freezer and all of those kind of units, the upgrade to the Ginyu Force. There are now solid options to run on this team. So yeah, you can definitely focus in on that if you want. You cannot focus in on it. It's just going to depend on what you go for. You can see here, I didn't manage to avoid the Dokkan attack, so there's obviously a little bit of frustration in terms of just, you know, doing the run as quickly as possible and getting the best results. So that is just something that's unfortunate and does happen, but it's not the end of the world. You can work around it. You'll still be more than fine. We have enough items left that we should be more than comfortable. So we'll take the heal from the Dokkan attack. We won't activate any items. We should be fine defensively, and we'll be okay and good to go. And we should get the heal from the stage, and then we'll be more than fine. So yeah, ready to move on to the final stage. If you do have Nappa and Vegeta, please don't build them into evasion or something silly to get the additional attack bonus. Criticals will be more than fine for them, and you can possibly move more into additionals if you do want to. More just so for the fact that if you do transform into Vegeta, he is super effective against super class enemies, so he will essentially have quite a high damage threshold. So if you do just kind of essentially go for that additional attacks, you will be benefiting a lot more damage wise than you would if you went for crits on him. But that's only once he's in the Vegeta stage. Crits probably suit the Nappa version a bit more. So yeah, it's just going to depend entirely on what you've got at the time, what you're focusing on, and everything like that. So beyond that, you know, you just focus on what you can, and you know, just do your best, really. Of course, this kind of final stage situation does suit the Nappa and Vegeta LR the most. The reason being just simply because, well, you know, more units in ESBR and SPR generally means they have lower health pools. Or at least the vast majority of them do. There usually is one main unit like Goku here, or Bojack if you're fighting Bojack squad. And essentially getting a AoE super does help to rapidly diminish these units and allows you to pick them off a lot faster. And once the units are thinned out, you have a lot more control over the state of the game, because generally they don't hit so hard. You have a lot more ability to control what's going on. Double supers from Nappa also really help a lot. Remember that also raises his attack and defense, and it's going to just help us thin out the crowd. And once you can thin out the crowd, you're able to basically then stun or control where that unit or which units are attacking you, and you're able to realistically just gain a larger sense of being in charge in terms of the fight. And I think that helps a lot, obviously, in terms of just, you know, maintaining your composure and being able to find the success for the situation. But at the same time, like in this situation, you can use other units that maybe don't have such a high attack threshold to essentially take out, you know, these units that are now low in health, and that leaves you with just Goku. and being able to just take on Goku gives you a lot more control over the fight. You can stun him, which we'll do here with the Bubbly and Deborah unit, or seal him, or just gain some semblance of control, and then you'll try and remove some of these excess units, and by doing so you essentially now have just given yourself one relatively weaker unit to focus on compared to the units that you've seen before, essentially. So yeah, definitely something for you to focus on, definitely something you can control and maintain. You can see we've removed 2 enemies already, we've stunned Goku already. We are in the driver's seat essentially, and with Nappa coming around the bend here, we should be able to engage and get another good AoE off, and hopefully remove even more units here, and then we can focus in on units like Gohan here to try and get rid of him while Goku's stunned, get the seal, get the attack lowering, get all of these benefits realistically, and control the rest of the fight. So really good display by the LR here. Obviously that double super really set us up for a really easy final fight here, which as always is pretty good. And then Goku's now been attack lowered, and he's just sitting in a really vulnerable state, and we shouldn't have any real problems getting rid of him. So that's pretty much it on how to beat the Extreme AGL or the Extreme AGL ESBR. Remember that your stage might be different. There's a rotation of teams that can take on each stage, so maybe slightly different, but try and keep to these principles, and you should be able to find success. So that's going to be it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a thought down in the comments below on how you beat the stage, and as always, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. But until then, bye.